And in the midst of the chaos in D.C., NBC News projecting Democrat newcomer Jon Ossoff as the winner of one of Georgia's U.S. Senate runoff races. Ossoff defeating incumbent Republican David Perdue. Once the results are certified, he becomes the youngest Democrat elected to the Senate since Joe Biden in 1973. The 33-year-old will be our nation's youngest sitting senator. Meanwhile, ballots are still being counted in some counties after being postponed because of the riots. Jerry Carnes live in Fulton County for us this morning. And Jerry, the counts will resume sometime this morning?
That's exactly right, Sheba. And in fact, there are two security guards here on hand at this election facility on English Street in Northwest Atlanta, waiting for the return of election workers who will resume work that was supposed to be concluded yesterday, but was disrupted because of all the chaos in Washington. Take a look. Here's some video of election workers counting ballots inside of the World Congress Center. They were counting absentee ballots. Any of those absentee ballots that have questions. If a mail-in ballot has a question about who exactly the voter was choosing, an adjudication panel looks at it and then they resolve any issues. That's what was supposed to happen yesterday. But when violence erupted at the U.S. Capitol, Fulton County stopped everything out of an abundance of caution. Workers will gather instead sometime today. Before all of that happened, before the chaos in Washington, Election Chief Richard Barron talked about Election Day in Fulton County and how well the process was going at the time.
It was actually a very smooth day from start to finish. I think early voting was probably it might have been the smoothest early voting we've ever administered.
Everything going smoothly with Election Day, everything going smoothly with the vote count until everything happened in Washington. That brought things to a temporary halt here, but will continue today. And a similar situation in Gwinnett County, where the vote count stopped at about 5 o'clock yesterday. It will resume again there today.
And you can track the votes county by county to get them straight to your phone. Just text the word result to the number on your screen.